Hello everyone, welcome back. Today I want to talk to you about my opinion on Doki Doki Literature Club. This is like a dating sim slash horror game, but it's more of a psychological horror than a boo. Got you, didn't I? So this kind of game, it starts out very slow. For the first maybe 2.5 hours, 3 hours, it's very slow, normal dating sim. Everything is text based, everything you read. And for a lot of it, at the beginning it was just fine. It was entertaining enough. I have dyslexia, so it was a bit harder to read. Some of the stuff, some of it was just kind of flying over my head. Other words, I was just grasping words out of the air, like, oh, that word says something. Oh, I'll say something else, which I did pick up on, and so did a couple people who messaged me about it. But yeah, overall, the first like 2 to 3 hours was just kind of a read and date in sim. You meet four main characters. You meet Monika, Sayori, Yuri, and Natsuki. Sayori is like your best friend. You guys known each other for a very long time. That's why you're friends. And at the very beginning of the game, she wants you to join a club, and you're like, I don't know what club to join. So maybe I should join the anime club, or maybe I should join the something else club. But then you end up joining Sayori's club, which she's the vice president of, and the president is a girl named Monika. And spoiler warning. By the way, spoiler warning. This is a review, so you're gonna get spoilers. Monika is the big bad. Basically, she wants you all to herself. And she is sentient and she's sentient and aware that she's in a game, and she's able to mess around with the files a little bit. Have a little bit of a dabble and delete and corrupt and change things. One of the biggest changes that at the beginning that she did was she made Sayori, so your best friend, she made her all depressed, and which ended up leaving her after a while to ending her life by hanging herself, so a suicide. There's multiple paths you could choose. You could choose to do certain things with certain people. For me, when we need to do this like a festival thing and set up for that, I went with Natsuki. And Natsuki is a character. She is slightly smaller than everyone else. I think she's just slightly younger, like a couple of months. Well, the website says they're all 18, so I assume she's like maybe newly 18 or something. I'm not 100% sure. Fact check me. I have no idea. But she was making cupcakes, and the first impression we had of her, like proper impression, was when we first get introduced and invited to this club, and we kind of show up. She makes cupcakes, but we never get to see the cupcakes. But she makes little cupcakes. So and then she likes manga as well. So she seemed like a pretty cool character, and probably the only one out of them all that I'd really even like have something to actually say in like IRL. If she was an actual person. So I went with Natsuki, and I chose her, and we kind of she came over my house. We started talking, that kind of thing, and baking cakes. I will say the first thing I did as soon as I met Natsuki was I immediately insulted her because she said, "Oh, you brought a boy to the club." So I said something I probably should, a bit of an edgier joke, I will say. So big warning about that if you want to check out my gameplay on the gaming channel, Skelly TCM. Top link in the description is the link to the video I made on it. The full gameplay. I did a full playthrough, the full 6.5 hours. Okay, now we got that out the way. I don't really know who we were playing. I think it was just some guy. I don't think we even had it. We got to choose our names. I wrote Skelly, that being my YouTube name. And like near the end, when Monika kind of deletes everything else and it's just you and Monika, she actually calls you by your Steam account name if you're playing on PC, which I was. But unfortunately, with the biggest downside with it was I haven't actually fixed my Steam name. So my Steam name is literally MaxMM. So it's a bit disappointing, but that's fine because that's my bad. But that's a very cool thing. Another thing I was told is during this, like when you're playing, Yuri kind of gets corrupted or whatever. I think in her file, a lot of stuff change, like while you're playing, and I think when they get deleted, I think she actually deletes. Like you go into the files, all the character files are gone, which is really cool and a really nice attention to detail. Also, when I went in the files, I found like these odd little notes of Monika's tampering, which I found like super cool, which I didn't even expect. So that's pretty cool. But you kind of go around for a while. I went with Natsuki. So I went with Natsuki. to go do the bacon at my house. But before we went to go meet Natsuki a couple of days later, because this is outside the literature club, which is a school club. You go to Sayori, see how she's doing, because she hasn't been in, and she was acting weird like the day before or something. So this is a couple of days since I played it. And you go see what's wrong with her, and it turns out that she's like super depressed. But usually she's a bit of the dopey drip type, and so you think, oh, she's just fun or like fun games, whatever. But it turns out that she's all depressed and all. And next time you go over there, she's dead. She had killed herself. I was incredibly shocked by it since it was a very slow-paced game up until then. Monica did say as well, you left her hanging, and then when you go there, she's hanging, so there's a cool little attention to detail there. So after she dies and you see her die, the game ends, right? But then there's an option instead of continue, it's all glitched, right? And on the front screen, there's a glitch. Sayori or like a two Natsukis, something like that. I think it was a glitch Sayori or like two Yuris or something, and one was glitched. So then I clicked continue, and then it was like, it's kind of the same, but it goes back to the very beginning of the game, but everything is glitched, so the text is weird, and then as you progressively play, where we first meet, where Sayori had walked into the classroom to invite us to the club, this time Monica did it. And Monica said, we kind of get introduced to Monica again, and she takes us to the literature club, and then we meet everyone again, and we kind of go around in a circle, but then there's subtle changes. And one thing I did notice is during this second time, I don't get to choose, we get physically pushed to Yuri. Like, I can't do anything about it, you get pushed to Yuri. So you read Yuri's book with her, you get really close with her, sometimes it's a little weirdly close, and then, like, Yuri gets super obsessive and also depressed, and it gets really strange. Because, mind you, this is a psychological horror. She gets, like, super clingy, and, like, at one point, it happens twice, but the first time I see it, she, like, closes the closet, and, like, she's, like, staring at you, and her eyes turn, like, really realistic, and, like, they're looking back and forth at you. And I found Yuri to be the most creepy character out of them all. And then she kind of goes off in this thing, and then, like, a little bit later, like 20, 30 minutes later, we get to choose again, obviously without Sarah this time, who we want to go and work with for this festival, which is happening again, because obviously the game is set, and obviously the option would be Monica, Yuri, and Natsuki, and I try to click Natsuki again because I thought, oh, maybe we could just try to see where it goes, and if anything, it'll just make me choose Yuri or Monica, but as anything, it made me only choose Monica, which was very weird. Not weird, but obviously, that's where it's kind of going. So, I was like, okay, that's cool. So I clicked Monica. And then, like, Yuri asked if we could stay behind and just talk about a book for, like, 5 minutes, and Monica was like, sure. And then Yuri goes into this massive, like, love confession. She's like, I love you so much. All my cells and all my blood is all yours or something. I want to cut you open and just crawl up inside you. So yeah, she's like, I want to crawl up inside you and like whatever. And it's just disgusting, and it makes me uncomfortable just hearing or saying that out loud. So yeah, then she says a bunch of this creepy stuff, and she's like, do you accept my love confession? And not even thinking, and being so grossed out, I clicked no, and I was like, no! Turns out, that causes her to kill herself. Yep, that causes her to stab herself to death right in front of us, and then we sit there for the whole weekend, staring at her dead body. Then it rolls around to Monday, I presume. Natsuki walks in the classroom. Oh, you beat me! And then looks at Yuri's body and screams and runs off. And then, like, Monica kind of comes in. She's like, oh, that's unfortunate, innit? That's unfortunate, mate. And then kind of just like, oh, I can fix this. Deletes them. And then obviously that's when we're in just a room with just Monica, and she says our Steam name, and then, like, gets really personal, and then tells me exactly how to delete files. So I was like, bet. And I just had a thought. I was like, what if I could? And then I went into the files, and then I deleted her file. Went back after spending like 30 odd minutes. Obviously, not all of that is in the video, but it's like spending 30 odd minutes in the files, whatever, and seeing what I couldn't find and that kind of thing. And then she kind of glitches out and she kind of goes, and then she's like, "Okay, I'll give you what you want because you deserve it." And then it kind of cuts back, beginning of the game. Sayori's there, the exact same as the first time. But this time, Sayori, since Monika's not there, Sayori is now like the club principal or president or whatever. I think it's president. And then you're like, oh, everything's cool. Then you meet Natsuki and you meet Yuri, and you're like, okay, now we can play it for real. And then after like the first day, Sayori kind of comes up to you and is like, I know what happened. I know what you did to Monica. I know what Monica made. I know Monica made us all everyone feel bad and stuff. And then it starts glitching back and forth to that room where we were with Monica when she went all like crazy and tried to make it all for herself. So she was clearly turning. So then Monica deletes everything and says, "Sorry, there will never be happiness in the literature club." And then we kind of get then the kind of game kind of ends, and this song starts playing. No, sorry, backtrack a second. We hear this voice, and it's actually Monica's voice. It's the only voice acting in the entire game. And then she references the piano because she was and a song she made because she was talking about, and she learned piano. This was mentioned like 2 or 3 times through the gameplay before, and we get to hear the song, which is actually a pretty good song if I'm going to be honest. It's pretty good. Yeah, and it was a pretty fun little ending. You see all the images getting deleted, and then you see like this little note at the end, and it's like thank you for being a friend and part of the literature club, that kind of thing, which is really sweet and really cool, and I thought it was a really nice touch. It made it feel more realistic and that kind of thing. I also got a bunch of secrets. I got 2 secrets back to back, which I didn't even know about. One of my friends said the possible reason why I had such weird dialogue is because the first poem game that I played, the little mini game, I actually was clicking Natsuki and Yuri words, and maybe one Sayori, but I wrote a poem for Natsuki and Yuri, which I didn't even know that you could do, because I didn't even mean to do it, because I obviously they didn't know what I was doing. So I wrote a poem for both of them, and then I feel like that kind of probably led me to a slightly different path to a lot of people, because some people will obviously write a poem for one of them at least. But yeah, that's basically like the game in like a summary that I could summarize it in. I hope a lot of that made sense, and I hope I didn't ramble too much through that. But anyway, down to anything I found good about the game. I found it to be very intriguing. I loved the character writing. The character writing was great. I personally think that Monica was written great. Natsuki and Yuri were written fantastic. Sari was just kind of on the middle. She was really good, well written, but she's probably lacks a bit in like me caring for like her. So we were supposed to have this like strong friendship, but I feel like at some points I kind of just don't care. But again, I could have just been because I'm tired or whatever. But I'm gonna give you my favorites in order. My favorite is Natsuki, second Yuri, third Monica, fourth Sayori. That's my top four in order. So obviously Natsuki being best, Sayori being bottom. Natsuki I found really interesting, and quite there was backstory lore. Like she didn't really have a death scene. She had this weird like snap neck run at you scene, but she had really cool lore, and she also had this bit of lore we didn't really go into about her abusive dad, which we never really kind of dove into. But I think that was just like scrapped because obviously it might have been a bit much. I assume anyway. Yuri was I loved how creepy Yuri was. She generally freaked me the fuck out, and I feel like that was really well written because I feel like it's quite hard from a writing game to creep someone out like that. But she had some disgusting lines. Monica, I just loved the character, to be honest. Like, just the entire her motivation all made so much sense. Because her motivation is she sees all 3 of the other girls fall in love with us or whatever over and over again, and she just has to witness it and endure it. So instead, she kind of pushes them out of the way and makes her like the main character. Kind of reminds me of that guy from Wreck-It Ralph, what's his name? Turbo, where he wants that recognition or whatever, so he kind of takes over the game. It's very similar situation, bit different motivation, different topic kind of thing, but roughly it reminds me of that anyway. But yeah, no, very cool game. I enjoyed it. Full game video in the description, as I struggled to say earlier. Yeah, I'm thinking a solid 8.5 to a 9 on this one. I think I'm giving you the Anthony Fantano score there, but I genuinely think it was a really good game. I enjoyed it a lot, especially I feel like it was really cool because it's someone who struggles to read like myself, got really into, and at the start of the game I was slowly getting into it. Second time I got more into it, and the third time I loved it. The third day I sped ran that last bit, not just skipping or anything, but like fully enjoying it. Because I thought, oh, it's gonna take me forever. It's like 6 hours worth of story, but nope. I did that in like 3 days. I did enjoy it a lot. Anything I found bad, I wish we could have seen the cupcakes. There was some parts that made me feel uncomfortable, from what we as a character were doing. That I think it was just really weirdly written, and I didn't think it was that cool, to be honest. But there was just some really awkward moments that I could have done without. For example, when our character and Natsuki are baking and we are play fighting in my house, we lick a bit of icing off Natsuki's fingers, and then the entire thing went like silent and weird. Like, who does that, bro? Who does that? I thought that was really strange. Some of the things we were saying as well, we were really odd. I think we were playing like quite a weirdo. So I wish we weren't so weird and gross. Because some of the stuff we were doing just made me feel like, ugh, well, what? And yeah, it's just that was my only gripe is our character. Funny enough, my only gripe is I feel like just randomly at random bits and random points, our character would do some weird stuff and stuff. I was just like, what? Why are you doing that? That's weird, bro. Think straight. And like, why would that's or like licking icing off someone's finger while you're playing and you're not even like proper friends is just such a weird thing to do. There's also stuff we were saying to Yuri and Monica, and it was just so weird. But apart from my only gripe is I wish that our character was slightly written less weird. But apart from that, I think it's a really solid game. By the way, my ratings out of 10 is how much my experience and how much I enjoyed the game over how the game actually is. So I'm probably gonna end up giving this a 9 out of 10, and that's not because the game's a 9 out of 10. It's just it's how my experience with the game was a 9 out of 10, and I thought it was really fun. And I thought the only thing that I didn't like, that I don't know if it was intended, was how weird our character was. That's the only thing that I feel weighs it down. Yeah, that's about it. Thank you guys so much for watching. See ya.